golf and tennis and, swimming, a lot of other sports, the schools themselves don't have facilities. So obviously they go to a golf course. So it's like, why can't you go to, an esports, facility and have that? So then that's why I think gaming centers will explode and do extremely well, because if you have, for example, I mean, we can't handle all the schools, like the Parks and Recs and other organizations. We'll have to just go to other businesses and ask them if we can outfit their locations with, PCs and everything. We have to figure something out. But, all the schools, if they all of a sudden, are going to be students, high school sports are 5 days a week. So they're going to be sending students there after school 5 days a week, the economic boost that will come, with that. And most likely they'll need coaching as well. So that gives a lot of volunteer and job opportunities, which will really help out, like can help out, like high schools can, volunteer to coach middle schoolers, and then collegiate students can help coach. And then there's always people like I volunteer, coach soccer, people always want to volunteer, coach a sport.
Yo, plug me in.
Welcome to another episode of the STEM Plug Podcast. And, here on the STEM Plug Podcast, we have a lot of, amazing individuals that are doing some really cool things in STEM, right? And today is no different. Today, we have Caleb. And Caleb is going to plug us in on the gaming industry. So how's it going, Caleb?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I really appreciate you coming out today to the STEM Plug Podcast, man, and really just plugging us in, right, into the industry of gaming, right? So I have a question for you, right? What was the first video game you ever played, and what are, like, the memories you have from it?
Well, I'm trying to remember because I think I was like 5 or 6. And, technically, if you say video game, I mean online checkers counts, but like we'll get more into something. It was something Nintendo DS. It was like you have your own pet, and like you take care of your pet or whatever, and then like you do different games or competitions. I'm honestly trying to remember. I'm like what was like Tamagotchis or something back in the day. I remember I just like found one when I think I was like 18 years old, just like was cleaning stuff out and found it and sending some people like, oh, I had those, I loved it, whatever. So it was something around, those, which, is very vague memories, of them. But, that was like the first type of video games that I played.
Okay. Is it like, you have a favorite type of like genre of video games or anything?
So now I used to like more like story games, role-playing games. That was when I had more time to play video games. But now it's a lot of like, once I got into esports, I started playing a lot of, the competitive type of games. Right now, my go-tos are Overwatch, Fortnite, and Rogue Company. So leaning on to the shooters more so. And then games that also can be pretty quick. So usually when I play a video game, I only get like 15 minutes, maybe 30. Yeah, so I want something I could play like a game or two and then, be done with it. I can't play like, unless if I do like a spike rush, but I can't jump on Valorant because games take like 45 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean myself, I used to be a real big, I guess, video game person. I guess I kind of slowed down a little
Became
bit.
an adult.
No, I'm not gonna say I became an adult. I don't know. I'm more of a reader now, right? So I like video games. They cool. I used to just play a lot of sports video games like 2K and Madden and stuff, but I used to have like every single one, but now I don't even remember the last time I played it. My like Xbox is just getting dust on it.
Yeah, I like reading as well. Knowledge is power.
Hey, there we go. All right, so I want to plug in, right? We have Esports Academy, right? But let's go backwards a little bit, right? From your bio, I knew you was a professional soccer player, right? So let's plug in a little bit about that. How was it being a professional soccer player, and how did that really help you into where you're at today?
So, playing soccer growing up, it was great. Talk about just the whole aspect of youth sports, which is what we look to, incorporate, within esports, about the character, and working with, character and life skills, building the, teamwork aspect that you have. You have a coach, someone that pushes you, your team that's working towards a goal. You have to show up somewhere on time, be diligent with it. So all those, soft skills are what they're called. Those all help. And then we're using all that within our current program. at Triangle Esports Academy, so that did have a large impact. But then, just, the ambition to pursue something, had another, and then living overseas in Germany, learning another language, that, was a great skill, and then, great for the brain, something that was enjoyable. The other would be, seeing a different economy. When you hear about like socialists and capitalists, and the main thing, with when you hear those terms that America does some stuff that, maybe communist, maybe socialist, like overall though, it's a capitalist country. Germany, the same thing, may do operate in a different way, but when you actually immerse in different cultures and speak to people, because, you may hear, obviously, most people's understanding of another country is just what they hear on the news. Whereas if you go there, if you speak to people, if you truly, learn about it, and then there's so many different cultures, because I was in the Bonn Cologne area, and in Bonn, that was a popular spot for a lot of people to come to, study there, to work. There were a lot of foreigners, but it wasn't in terms of, like a lot of refugees went to Germany. They had some, but it wasn't a lot. Those were more so Berlin, Munich, Hamburg, like the bigger cities in East Germany. For, where we were, there was a lot of people that came for study or work. So, there'll be all different types of restaurants from people from, different countries. And just getting to see that whole experience of, another culture open up my eyes to how, the world truly was. But I would say it did have a large impact, and it was because I had a lot of downtime that I actually, started researching and studying esports and learning more about the industry. And if I didn't have all that downtime, I probably never would have actually looked into it and been like, oh, I want to get into this industry.
Wow. Nah, that's definitely a good plug. Just you talking about experiencing other cultures, right, from living in another country. Like I haven't lived in another country before, but I'm originally from Philly, and I know just coming to North Carolina for college and school, just experiencing, and then working in corporate really exposed me to other cultures and stuff like that. And like you said, just that experience of seeing those other cultures and knowing how gaining those soft skills, that's great to have, right? So what kind of, what inspired you to start, Triangle Esports Academy, right? How did that come all about from with your love of soccer and video games? Where did that inspiration kind of come from?
So I loved video games. I like the, competitive aspect of esports. And, I was looking for a career change. The experience in Germany was great. Playing soccer was a lot of fun. Living there was not very fun. And so, I was looking for something, found esports. I'm like, oh, this is an industry, I'd be looking to get into. Obviously, everyone goes into business to make money. It partial was money, and partial was because it was something I was genuinely interested in. I think where a lot of, people have been messing up recently is that they've jumped into it just like, oh, it looks like a great industry to make a lot of money. And so they've, been messing up that way. But really, I just found that, but I was very patient with it as well because I was studying. I knew that professional teams didn't make money. I saw about, companies, that may have started and gone out of business. And so I was waiting and looking for an opportunity. And really the opportunity that we had was a great opportunity, pre-COVID, with the whole gaming center, which we had started and we opened up post-COVID. And there had been, a lot of gaming centers go out of business because they didn't adopt to, the new times. And so we do a lot around, gaming and esports, but it's not limited to that. We have to look, in for, additional revenue streams, because if we only try to do gaming and esports, it wouldn't work. We added in a STEM education component to that. And really, we have groups coming in. We could do workshops like coding, animation, video game design. And so with that, it really allows us to, open up, and it's like, oh, do you want to rent out the space? Do you want to have a birthday party here? A wide range of activities, from starting it, to now, we found out what worked, what didn't work, added, added programs, took things away, built out this model that's, working for us. And then recently added in mobile programs, which is where we're able, which is not really recent, we've been doing it for over a year, just started getting really popular, but we can go to other venues now and run programs out of there as long as they have decent internet connection. And that allows us to be able to expand our programs to as many youth, fast and quickly. And it doesn't have the whole burden of, a retail space, because people have to be able to come to a retail space. They have to, get in the car and travel. And if the place is an hour away, they may not be able to do that consistently. But if we're able to go to a place that's 15 minutes from them, then they are able to come there consistently. So that really allowed us to, get our programs out, to a reach where we may not have, been able to before. And, in times with the economy, do you really want to sign a lease? Do you really want to put up the whole upfront cost? So a lot went into that. But that's how we are where we are now. So I would say soccer and love for video games both had a large impact in starting with the business.
Okay. So you plugged in a good point, right, that I was really interested in, right? We want to go into the STEM related. And, with STEM and trying to get, kids interested in STEM or anybody interested in STEM, you got to keep it fun, right?
Yes, right.
So, how can you think video games can really be designed to enhance problem solving and critical thinking skills, like particularly within STEM?
So video games just in general, because, when you're playing games, you really have to think. If you're playing a racing game to a shooting game, you have to learn, like when Fortnite drops a new map, you have to learn the new map. When you're playing Overwatch, there's, 5 different characters, their different roles, different abilities. You have to be able to communicate with other players on the team. You have to be able to work together, for whatever the objective might be. There's always changes and updates to the game. So then you have to learn the new updates, be able to adapt to it. It comes naturally, with doing it. People don't actually realize that they do it, but there's a critical thinking, there's adaptability, there's, just overall being able to, problem solve within the games. Like, okay, this isn't working, and then even some players get into really deep into having to research the game itself. And so that's when those skills actually are able to come in. They happen more organically, from playing the games. It may not be conscious, but they happen.
Okay. That's an interesting way to look at it. So do you think, I'm thinking about, like, far as, let's think about like a university or, a high school or something that has different STEM or science courses. Do you think these courses can one day be, gamified, per se, where these courses can maybe be turned into a game to give to these students where they can actually learn these courses? Do you think that can happen one day?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's already stuff out there. So, like, Plasma Games is a company. They're here locally in Raleigh, and they actually make his chemistry games for middle schoolers. And so they sell to different school districts, for a chemistry game. And then there's many other companies out there. Some make the games themselves that are able to teach. And then there's another company, they're called Mastery Coding. What they do is they use the current game. So they'll use games like Rocket League to teach geometry. They'll use a game like Mario Kart to talk about decimals and how those work, with the split seconds of time. There are a lot out there, to already be used. And I really believe that's the future of education, games and hands-on experiences.
Okay. So, I guess what would you say, Triangle Esports Academy offers to, really those inspiring gamers or esports, people that want to kind of get into game design? Do you offer anything for that?
We do, yeah. So when talking about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, science, engineering, math, I feel like are very well taken care of, and there's a lot of programs for that. But I feel like we're really left out on the technology side, and especially, when it comes with the youth, and a lot aren't pursuing tech careers because they really just don't know about them. And so that's what our whole thing is about. We work K-12, and it's not necessarily about teaching specifically the skills. I mean, we can actually teach, advanced courses, but it's more so giving them a love and a passion and for learning about technology related. So we start, basic games like Minecraft and, some animation, Scratch, and we're going to some Roblox coding, and then an Unreal Engine or Unity type of platforms that we use to teach and educate youth. So it's really about, getting them interested in wanting to learn about it, wanting to know more. Say, oh, I want to be a video game designer when I grow up, or I want to work in cybersecurity, or even, recently I saw some job posting, I think maybe for OpenAI, between $300,000 to $900,000 a year for a position. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know who wouldn't want to, work for that kind of salary.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice penny right there, right? So, okay. So how, gaming can be really competitive at times, right? how do you really, for your people that you have come to your facility, how do you maintain, that balance between competitive gaming and really promoting a healthy gaming lifestyle? How do you go about that?
So in turn, if you're talking about toxic behavior,
Yeah.
we actually don't get that at our place. I mean, the
Okay.
reason why is because they're actually in a public place. Anyone that acts toxic, they're gonna do it, at home by themselves. It's like, the person that they just, talk about you behind your back and say, "Oh, this other is okay." And when they see me getting post, like, "Oh, so great to see you," and so that's really what it's like, at our place. And so we've actually seen people become friends, at our place because they'll be playing like a certain game, like, "Hey, do you want to hop in with us?" Like, sure. And so they hop in, and then they even coordinate a time to come and meet with each other, a little later another time. So we actually really don't get that. And I mean, sometimes with like younger kids, we might, but that's normal. So then it's, taking a knee, sitting down with them, talking to them about, here's what you did, here's why it's not right, here's why you shouldn't do it, talk about having good sportsmanship. So you just like, in, traditional sports as well. I mean, you always have those kids that, with bad attitudes, saying that things that aren't nice to each other. So, it's all about, enforcing and setting a good example.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And I definitely, I can see that you're, you being that, former professional soccer player and just, the teamwork, attributes that you had yourself, how you kind of brought this into Triangle Esports Academy. So that's dope, right? So I see a lot of stuff that you do, within the community with a lot of, talking at a lot of different events, having, supporting a lot of kids with a lot of different games and stuff like that. So for you, what has been the impact that Triangle Esports Academy has had on the community, and how do you really measure that success?
So, I mean, obviously within business, there's always, the financial, and then really look at impact. So about employees, how many jobs have we, been able to provide? And then, on internships, like we run internships for, college students, for high school students. We often do speaking engagements and career fairs. A lot of them aren't career fairs in terms of actually looking for employees, but they're career fairs in terms of talk about the career, explaining what careers are out there. And it's so when like I was at Target or a North Carolina FC game, and randomly a kid will be like, "Hey, you spoke at our school," talk about they enjoy it, things like that. That's really fulfilling to know that you impacted someone's life, really touched them. I mean, I know there's people that they really inspired me, to work hard at soccer, practice more, and they may have no idea who I am, or may have no idea that they were actually one of the people that influenced. But I just know that somebody out there, is actually going to get influenced by it, and the impact that we're able to have, the organizations that we can work with, because what we offer is something that a lot of organizations want and know that they need, but don't necessarily know how to do it. Because when you look at a lot of these, for example, like nonprofit groups, they're very good at running the nonprofit. They know how to, raise money. They know how to get people to come out for their programs. But then when it comes down to actually having programs and someone running it, that's where a challenge may come in. And so that's where we're able to go and then help out and just, overall be able to work with other business owners, anyone in the area, because people have rented our place out to actually host different activities. And so knowing that without us, they wouldn't be able to host that kind of activity they wanted to, or they would have to have a much larger budget because they have to be bringing all the equipment in, renting out a space to set up. And so it's really just inspiring to see. And it's like, those event on Tuesday with Spark and C, 16 school districts and youth coming in. We were able to run Fortnite competitions that they absolutely loved. But just overall seeing all the different organizations that were out there. I mean, they were organizations that worked, within entrepreneurship in K-12, and there was that worked, large companies like Cisco and Red Hat, were companies there that were representing, and to be able to collaborate and to know that, wow, we've reached this level to where they pretty much picked the best companies, and organizations in the Triangle area, and we were selected to come and represent here, and offer our services to this group of students.
Oh wow, okay. So what kind of like equipment do you really provide for the people that kind of come to the gaming facility at Triangle Esports? What do you all have?
So we have all equipment. So the PC towers, they have 3060 Ti's, the monitors, the 144 hertz, And then the keyboard, mice, headsets, they can bring their own peripherals if they like. And then we have, that's at the physical location. There's 1 gig by 1 gig dedicated fiber internet, so never have any bandwidth problems. That's at the physical location. Now, when we talk about the mobile programs that we do, those we take gaming laptops. Currently, they have 1650s in them, which are good enough to run, everything that we need to run. In the future, we have to look into upgrading that equipment, but that allows us, to be able to go all about. And even still, I mean, what I've seen, it's more about being able to play games with other people, because I've seen no difference in the fun and excitement when we go somewhere else with gaming laptops, or when people come to our place, with PC and play on PC towers.
Okay, that's dope. So it seems like you really built, an amazing infrastructure with Triangle Esports, right? But let's go in a little bit about like the challenges, right? What have kind of been the challenges of really keeping this gaming industry, like just staying afloat with as an entrepreneur and of running your business? Have there been any challenges for you?
Yeah,
that you have to go through?
Well, we opened October 2020, so COVID was obviously a challenge. That wasn't a challenge; it was only a challenge for about 5 months or so, and then the biggest challenge, though, was people not understanding what esports was or what we did, and us figuring out our model, which with any startup, that's the, probably usually the biggest challenge. And so, or besides, like, raising money. But within that, when you talk about esports, people are like, what kind of sports? And then when you explain it, and it may be a little challenging for some people to get and understand. And like, really, like, people make money, and it's usually, occasionally, I liked it when they did, but maybe like one out of every 4 or 5 times, because I just be on like a networking, it was all Zoom because during the COVID time. But somebody would come in and say, oh yeah, my daughter's boyfriend, he went to, I don't know, like Illinois University. I don't even know if that's a school, but and like, yeah, they have like an esports team in a whole game room, and he got like a $2,000 a month, a semester scholarship. And so that's where like a large challenge came about. And even still, like, people know about the industry, they don't know like in detail about it, which I mean, I would assume is like anything else. I mean, it's like with pickleball, I know like, it's big, it's growing, professional teams are getting started, they're making like a massive facility for it, and Raleigh area. But in terms of the details around pickleball and all that, I wouldn't know those. So that was like a big one. I mean, to figure out the model, really nothing from like what a typical startup would have. I mean, COVID was the only thing, open up a retail location, and then when it came to expansion, looking at what was the right way to go when it comes to expansion, and then figuring out the whole mobile services and being able to offer that, because it's like, wow, for example, we have the physical location, and then where people have to physically come there, and then we're not always so if people are our way, we're not able to really to service them, and then organization or group, they may just want the service like once a month. And so, they may not, want to have it, daily or weekly. And that allows us to, be flexible with the programs that we're able to offer. So that's, I'd really say the biggest one is just, being a startup, people not understanding it. And I mean, a lot of times people, they would just, look inside, they thought it was like some corporate office. And then, I'm not sure how, it was over a year being in business. I was just walking through Park West Village, and I saw the company, they had posters on the out. And so I'm now like, oh, that's a good idea. We should have posters. And so people, and then once we did that, then people started coming and asking questions specifically about, well, like, oh, can you tell me more about birthday parties and camps and everything? So, I mean, live and learn, but, that's with business, that's all part of it. No one ever knows anything and everything at the start. So I do wish that I would have known about more of the, because I didn't know about any of the virtual networking events until about February time. And so that really, helped once I started doing those. And then about a lot of the resources, like by the time I found out about most of them, like the incubator programs and accelerators, I was pretty much already, had passed that stage. So, but I think if I would have done some of those early on, that they could have really helped.
Okay. Nah, yeah. I mean, COVID was definitely, I guess, the pandemic was an interesting time where, amazing companies like yours, came out of. So it's like, it's kind of all about, how you look at, I guess, certain situations. That's how I like to look at it, right? You can really, start to build when people think things are falling down, that's when you're building, right? And it really seems like you did that and built a amazing organization, right? So, do you ever have any, aspiring, I guess, esports entrepreneurs that want to open their own gaming facility? Has people ever come to you like, how do I do this? How can I get into this? Has
Yeah,
anybody come
I
up
mean,
to
I've
you?
had quite a few. Usually, they don't after I explain how it is because people underestimate, the upfront cost. And then
Yeah.
when you look at, the cost of how much rents have gone up, like we signed our lease back in 2019, and so then that was before the rents just skyrocketed for commercial real estate. We signed 10 years, so we're locked in,
Oh, wow.
at the rates, and so rents have gone up. That's part of it. Internet costs have gone down, which so that a little bit helps balance out the rent. Then you have your basic like utilities, but when you talk about the upfront cost of it, all the PCs and the actual station. I mean, you're looking at if you talk about table, desk, so chair, desk, PC, monitor, the peripherals for it. I mean, you're running $1,500 at the like cheap end. You're looking at like $2,000 up to $3,000 depending on how fancy you want to get with it. And so then like they realize they have all those upfront costs. And when you start talking about the cost of the software and the server, and then there's just the regular business expenses that every single business has. Like, oh yeah, we have to have accounting, you have to have a bookkeeper, you have to do payroll, all those expenses as well. And so then there's a lot that they leave out. One person I mentioned that you need a server, and then he's like, oh shoot, and then that's gonna be a few $1,000s. That just adds on to the upfront cost. So as people start to lay it out, then they're just like, okay, I'll think about it. And I usually don't hear back from them after that because, it's like, if I knew personally about the business and everything, like all those details, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I really want to do this. But one thing that we look at with how we do the mobile, that's something that we can encourage them. It may be a license, maybe a franchise, but as we build up the mobile, we show them the mobile has a low upfront cost and low overhead, so that could be a great way to go for people looking to get into esports. And then if they actually see in the future that having a gaming center works, main thing would be it would be a good idea if high school and like middle school, high school esports were more popular and they actually went to another venue because when you think about golf and tennis and swimming, a lot of other sports, the schools themselves don't have facilities, so obviously they go to a golf course. So it's like, why can't you go to an esports facility and have that? So then that's why I think gaming centers will explode and do extremely well, because if you have for example, we think about we can't handle all the schools like the Parks and Recs and other organizations. We have to just go to other businesses and ask them if we can outfit their locations with PCs and everything. We have to figure something out. But, all the schools, if they all of a sudden, are going to be students, high school sports are 5 days a week. So they're going to be sending students there after school 5 days a week, the economic boost that will come, with that. And most likely they'll need coaching as well. So that gives a lot of volunteer and job opportunities, which will really help out, can help out, like high schools can, volunteer to coach middle schoolers, and then collegiate students can help coach. And then there's always people like I volunteer coach soccer, people always want to volunteer, coach a sport.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'm even just thinking about like, how much coding goes into video games, right? And just like now I'm seeing all these kids are learning, coding at such young ages. And this also kind of goes into video games, right? So what role would you say, I guess, far as you seen within esports, how much are your like kids kind of learning how to code and stuff like that through Esports Academy as well? And for that?
They are. So specifically in the STEM camps, they are. And if an organization reaches out about a workshop, so like I mentioned before, we can do things that are very basic, and we can, teach on Unreal Engine or Unity. And so, they could come through and learn this. And it's not something where you learn. That's why I said an organization can come to us and say, we want to bring a group in 3 times a week, for 3 months to like learn how to actually make a game and code in Unity. We can do that. Typically, a lot of them are like one-offs that we do, or right now we're doing a 4-week program that's coming once a week for an hour and a half. You're not going to learn how to, make something elaborate, in that short time span. But what they can do is get a large passion for wanting to continue on learning. So if they go, it's like Udemy, or you look at the local community college or take a class there, that's what our real whole goal is with it. Eventually down the line, we may look to go into that and go that route. Just as of now, that's not the main focus.
Okay. That's dope. Well, let's plug in. Do you have any I guess upcoming projects or partnerships that Triangle Esports is working on or that y'all have coming up? Any events or anything?
We do. I mean, maybe at the date when this gets published, but there's a hackathon happening August 15th. So if this podcast misses the date, there will be more in the future. We're partnering with STEM Media, which I know Nehemiah was on a podcast a couple episodes ago.
Oh.
And then there's a lot of other events that, go on to take place. We're planning a tournament for around neurodiversity, and there's a couple others that haven't yet been finalized, so we're not going to mention. But there's a lot of groups and organizations. So I know Valencia Harris with Empower All, they run, different STEAM days and I think they have it's like a STEAM conference or whatever it might be. But we go, to those events, represent, can run something there. And a lot of different organizations, like Big Brother, Big Sisters are doing a back to school event, and we're going to be going there and, running some programs and letting, students come and play games. So there's a lot of events, everything. I would say check out our website and our social media pages, because those are always, kept up to date with the different events that we have going on.
Okay, so plug in those social medias for us. What are they again? So
Instagram and Facebook are Triangle Esports Academy, all spelled out. Twitter, due to only having 15 characters, is Tri Esports Acad, ACAD. And then LinkedIn, you just look up Triangle Esports Academy. You can also look up me, Caleb Smith, and shoot me an invitation to connect through there.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Well, Caleb, I know I didn't ask you this question before, right? But I just have to ask, right? You have a amazing, bio just with, your video game academy and everything you've done, even being a professional soccer player, right? So I just want to know, once everything is all done, with Triangle Esports, you have, you're continuing to build over the years. What do you really want your legacy to be?
Yeah, definitely. So, the goal is to continue to expand Triangle Esports Academy as large as possible. North Carolina, national, global, really, improve education and it's not necessarily so much from people knowing about, this person did this, but legacy in terms of knowing that, on the deathbed, I made this great impact that, youth for another 100 years are going to continue to, reap the, results of, all the hard work that, we had put in, for all those years. So that's a big thing. And to really just, push education, because, the world's changing, technology is booming, and, all the jobs within it. And then, our goal is to get so many youth, as many youth as possible, interested in these different tech fields. And there's so many of them that said, I didn't know this existed. I never would have thought of this. I wasn't aware that, you could do something like this type of career. So that's where, I'm really looking for my legacy to be like.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Caleb, we appreciate you plugging in Triangle Esports Academy. This was amazing. I know our listeners are going to love plugging in. So make sure you subscribe, like, and keep plugging in for more.